Hello guys, welcome back to Ana Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. In this episode, we're gonna take a look and listen at the end to one of the best sounding record labels that human beings ever had. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Okay guys, so a few weeks ago, if you remember, I made a video on Japanese pressings. Here's a link. Where we went through the Western records repressed, reissued in Japan with its own results. Okay, but apart from that, we also have amazing, incredible productions in Japan. Their own music, their own record labels. And there are dozens. But there is one shiny example coming from the 70s that we could say almost that laid the foundation for all the rest. Even in the 50s and 60s, there were great great labels, but this one is top of the tops. What am I talking about? Audiolab record. Oh mama, oh baby. The audiophile qualities of these recordings, of these records, are something truly outstanding. So stick with me, where we're going to learn a little bit about the founder, of the genius behind this label, a few of the records, a few of the techniques employed to obtain this magical sound they delivered during mainly from 1971 to 1979, where Mr. Sugano was there. Let's go. Okay guys, behind amazing projects, we all know, in most cases in history, we have amazing people, amazing minds. In our case, behind Audiolab record, we have Mr. Okihiko Sugano. He is an amazing, incredible, very talented sound engineer, mixing engineer, and he has been working also before the foundation of Audiolab in several companies, famous companies in Japan. Asahi Sonorama, Tact Records, Trio Records, and he did amazing recordings already in that part of his life. But starting in 1969, he founded Japan Audio Laboratory, which was then changed into Audiolab Record. Oh baby. As I said, 1971, 1979. Then we have other productions, but Sugano was out of there. Audiolab Record was mainly focused on jazz and classical music. And we must say that it inspired after that, and together during the same period actually, other great companies like Three Blind Mice. So there is a special recipe with their creations, with their recordings, something that Mr. Sugano gained experience before and put everything in and perfectly combined when he went ahead with Audiolab. So let's see, what are the main ingredients of this special recording recipe? So first of all, very few devices in the audio recording chain between the mics and the tape recorder. Very, very few, and top notch, top quality. Second of all, the mics, the recording were live, were mixed live directly to the master recorder, 2-track master recorder, using a mixer, 8-channel mixer with the different microphones. As you can imagine, we're talking about small ensembles, small groups of recording, not symphonic recordings. In any case, with this low number of instruments and personnel, obviously you really get the tactile, the physical impression of what those instruments, the timbre, the different aspects, the characteristics of those instruments are perfectly transposed on these recordings. Especially the dynamics. The dynamics are huge because it's almost like a direct-to-disc process. since Sugano was mixing all these microphones mainly in two models he was using. The Ampex AM10 and also the Quad 8 LM6200. With these two babies, he sent the signal into two channels, and he practically already had the master. He probably fixed a little bit of things afterwards, but not too much. It's an analog era, and he wanted to preserve the sonics, and this is the correct way. So as you can imagine, this was an extremely difficult process. Everybody needs to know what they're doing. You have to mix on the fly. The artists cannot do any mistake. I mean, it's a one-take phase. Obviously, we can redo it, but everything from the beginning to the end has to be perfect. You can do some cuts, but in most cases, it really has to be one whole sequence, fluid and coherent. And that's the magic that Sugano was capable of achieving. With the aid of two important recorders, he mainly adopted two. In the first phase of his recordings from 1971 to 1975, he used an Ampex AG440B, which he also used at Tact and Trio. Then, from 1976, he started to use mainly his favorite, the Scully 280/2, which is a very famous recorder actually. In fact, it was used in the Stax Studios. The Rolling Stones did, Jimi Hendrix. So it is a popular and very reliable machine, which gives that special imprint, that special dynamic sound. So as we will see afterwards in the different records, and I find this very, very fascinating, you understand how much this was important for all the people involved in the production, and obviously especially for Mr. Sugano. On each record, you have a faceplate with all the details of the recording. Obviously, the personnel, the engineers, but the instruments, the tape adopted. We will see afterwards. I also wanted to highlight the avant-garde, the vision that Sugano had in his editions, because he made different editions of his records, not just normal LPs. He also did 45 RPM records, which is something rather unusual for that time, but incredibly also 78 RPM versions of his records. A few of them were not curated by him, but others were, and obviously they are very sought after, highly collectible. Plus, he also did DBX versions. There are several DBX versions. Remember, I discussed this recently in my video on my Technics recorder. Take a look, here's a link. That's simply a LP encoded with a DBX. They use the 211 unit, which obviously brings even higher, even more expanded the dynamic range of already these incredible recordings. So they cost more, but if you find them and if you have a DBX unit, I would go for those if you can, if you have the money. Plus, he also did quadraphonic. So as you can see, we have a full achievement, a full exploration and experimentation of these incredible new media in that period. Fabulous. Fabulous. Amazing. Truly amazing. So for those of you who are interested in these recordings and not so much into LPs, or you don't want to spend those crazy prices, because unfortunately, as you can imagine, they do go for high prices. They are releasing, starting in 2000, 2001, and 2012, super audio CDs. There are also some CDs released in the past. You can try those. I mean, a few of them were also curated by Sugano, together with Sugano, but they're also collectible at this point. Instead, the super audio CDs, well, you have to go in online stores, probably in Japan and things like that, but there are at decent prices. You can find them at decent prices, but be careful and look only for the ones released, curated by Octavia Records. Those are the best of the best, because they really preserved and paid attention to preserve the master, the real and original sonics of the albums. So try to look for those. Okay, before proceeding, I want to signal a very nice article which actually is the source of this video, because there isn't that much information out there, by Wojciech Pakuta on High Fidelity, a Polish magazine. There's the translation in English on the internet. I'm going to put the link here below so you can go even more in depth in the life of Sugano. So, let's start to take a look to a few of these babies. So, this is how a normal, classic, typical Audiolab, here you see the logo with the Obi, LP appears. This one, like several recordings, is done by Kunihiko Sugano, which is the brother of Okihiko Sugano. But, I mean, it's not just a fact of family, but he is actually very, very good, very, very capable of dealing with different instruments. Very, very nice additions. Traditional, that I don't know, that very soft but precise, well-defined editions of the 70s. With tip-on jackets, well-printed, nice pictures, fabulous. This one is one of the masterpiece. This was actually one of the pilot recordings that really had to show the muscles of Audiolab. This is the side-by-side where it's practically one of the test records for a lot of people for piano. This is just piano with the amazing Bosendorf and the Steinway. And I must admit that the sonics are truly outstanding. And you can still find this at a decent price. Sugano was very proud of this recording. So this is one of the top-notch. Here we can find, for example, other things. He was very passionate. He really liked Pierre Bouzon, the French composer. This is a compilation where we have a few of these tracks of mainly soundtracks, actually, that Pierre Bouzon made for French movies. And this is probably released later on, even though it says Okihiko Sugano presents. This was released more likely in the 80s, but it's difficult to find the year of this, actually. But there are dozens and dozens of records of these Japanese artists, which are very, very good. I'm not going to say anything that much more on the sonics, because these are all incredible. Each recording is a treasure, and in fact, they do cost a bit, unfortunately. Then we have the masterpiece. If you have to buy only one, I personally would go for the Dialogue. Oh yes, baby. This is probably the best sounding drum record on earth. Truly. No question. At least that's what I think. I mean, the sonics of the drums is perfectly captured. It's perfectly reproduced on this amazing vinyl. Go and listen to the digital versions, and you're not going to find that impact. You're not going to find those dynamics, guys. This is something just amazing, and we're going to listen to this in a while, okay? I just wanted to single one more, which is a little more cheap, and you can find it a little more easily. Again, by the same artist, which is Takeshi Nomata. Amazing Takeshi Nomata. This is also by him. This is also based on drums, and the acoustics is just as good. So, again, this could be an excellent choice if you want to dive in the world of Audiolab. Just wanted to show you at least one label. Here you are. With the spindle hole right in the C. That's something typical of them. Very, very cool. Okay, ready to listen to something? Did you like that? Remember, you're listening to YouTube, compressed everything, conversion to digital, blah, blah, blah. If you want to hear the real thing, go out and get one. You won't regret it. This is part of our human historical heritage recording, analog recording. Okay, guys, thank you again for watching. Please write down if you have already your favorite Audiolab records. I'm interested in that because there's so many you don't know where to pick. So if you have some recommendations, please write them down here below. At this point, what else can I say? Remember that music was born analog. Bye, guys. Well, guys, if you're enjoying my videos and you're enjoying my channel, please consider to subscribe by clicking the black and white logo here below. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll never miss an episode and you will become a true member of the analog community.